So today I'm going to set ChatGPT a challenge to see can it build me a brand new website in under 7 minutes. Rather than using a drag and drop website interface designer like Softer or Webflow or Elementor, I'm going to use ChatGPT and simply just type in what it is exactly that I want. I'm going to take whatever output ChatGPT gives me and I'm going to put it into a cool tool that I'll show you how to use so that you can get a website live rapidly and within a matter of seconds. Okay, so first thing you'll need to do, if you don't already have an OpenAI account, come on over to openai.com. Click on developers, click on documentation, and then hit the sign up button here, set up an account. So when you have an account set up and you're signed in, you can come into the playground environment, which is what I'm going to use as sort of the website co-pilot builder for me here today. And the reason for that is that I can come in here and choose chat, and I can flip back and forth between GPT 3.5 Turbo and GPT 4 if things aren't working out for me under GPT 3.5 Turbo. What this also allows you to do is to set a system for the chat or for the context or for what we're trying to do here today. And the system today is going to be something along the lines of, hi, you're a website builder. I'm a no coder. I don't know how to write code, so please help me write something that I can just plug into another tool so that I can get a website launched that looks really good and that has X functionality in it. We're then going to prompt it through the user prompts here, and I'll show you the approach that I take when I'm trying to build stuff with OpenAI as a co-pilot. It's all about getting certain parts right first, then honing that part, then moving on to the next part of the project, as opposed to just putting in, hi, just build me a website from scratch and just expecting it to do every single page and every single thing on the website. It's better to build it bit by bit as you go and refine what you're building, and I'll show you that exact process through this video. So the next thing to do before we start the 7-minute clock to see what ChatGPT can build for us in that time frame is come over here to replit.com. Replit.com is a great tool. I think it was traditionally aimed at coders, but now with the power of ChatGPT, it can certainly be leveraged by us no coders because it's a web hosted IDE, which is essentially a coding environment, and it also provides hosting. So if you put code into it that ChatGPT gives you, even if you've no idea what that code is or what it means, you can then launch that code through Replit so that it becomes a live website literally in a matter of seconds. And then once you get familiar with this, it can become great add-on to ChatGPT, particularly if you're trying to build web projects. I'm just here on the Replit pricing page. You can definitely use Replit for free. There are paid plans as well. For the entirety of this build, it's going to be entirely on the free plan, and I'd recommend if you're just experimenting and playing around as well, just stay on the free plan. There's no need to pay unless you need to have extra power or speed or processing power from Replit, which for any sort of standard static website, you probably won't need those features for the time being. So you come on over to replit.com, you hit sign up, you set up an account, and once you have that done, we're going to hit the clock and start the 7-minute time to see what we can get built with ChatGPT and putting the output from ChatGPT into Replit. Okay, 7 minutes set on the clock. Here we go. So I have got a bit of a head start in that I have pre-crafted this prompt for the system, which you'll be able to steal from the description of the video below, so I won't have an unfair head start or advantage on you. You are a website developer and creator, and you want to help the user as best you can in producing an eye-catching website. You will supply all of the HTML, CSS and JavaScript code so that the user can copy and paste the code into Replit, which is the IDE and hosting environment that the user will use. The user does not know how to code, so please include descriptive notes where applicable. If you are supplying edits or amendments to existing code that you have already supplied, please give specific instructions as to where the updated code needs to be placed and what needs to be removed from the existing code. You will be helpful, creative, and the overall goal is to assist with creating a web page that is user-friendly and beautiful. So that system or context is going to be passed to ChatGPT every single time that we enter a message here as the user, so that ChatGPT knows what our goal or what it is that we're trying to do. And so we're then going to feed it a series of prompts. I'm going to sort of make them up as I go here and see what we can produce in the time that we've got for the rest of this video, and let's see where it takes us. So the first thing I'm going to ask it is, hi, can you help me build a web page, please. So I'm not giving it too much direction here. We'll just see where it goes. I'm using ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo. It's much faster, it's much cheaper, and we'll just see how it goes. I'll only flip it onto GPT-4 if something's not quite working, or if I feel something is not being given accurately by GPT 3.5. And the only way I'll know that is if it's just not working when I go into Replit. So anyway, let's just start the ball rolling here and see what it comes up for us. Of course, I'd be happy to help. What kind of web page are you looking to create? Is there a specific theme or purpose for the website? So today, let me just come up with a dummy business. I'm just going to say, I would like you to help me build a brand new web page for my no code plus AI consultancy firm. So this is a fictitious business, but let's see what it comes up with. To start out, I would like a beautiful landing page that is optimized to be a customer facing page, and I would also like to have a contact us page. So again, I'm starting small. I'm giving it two basic things. If ever you're building a website, you're always going to need a landing page and you're always going to need a contact us page, and we'll just see what it can give us and how it looks. So here we go, submit. Great, let's get started. Here's some HTML code for a basic landing page. You can copy and paste this into your Replit project. Okay, so it's writing that out. And what I've noticed is I've got maximum length on 256 over here. So I might want to increase that because it's going to be spitting out probably fairly long. See, it's already stopped there. So I am going to increase this, and I'm just going to put it up to 1,000. And anytime this happens where it cuts off mid-code, you can just simply prompt it and say, please continue. And it will just pick up from where it left off, okay? So we just have to wait for this to be spit out. It's using up valuable time. We're at 3.5 minutes already, so we've used up about half of our time. And let's see what we can get done here today. Okay, it's now moving on to the CSS. So for anybody out there, no coder, right? Obviously this does look like coding, but I still think of this as a no code interface. Instead of using a drag and drop editor in the likes of Softer or Webflow or Elementor, I'm basically using my words. I'm using the language to basically tell the computer what it is I'm trying to do. It's writing the code for me, and yeah, it is code. So some people do argue this is low code or it is just code, but I'm not writing any of this, and I'm literally going to copy and paste this. I'll show you where to do that now. So I'm going to come up to the top here, and I'm going to take where it left off. So what does it have here? Section, and then so it's giving me section in duplicate, I think. Yeah, so I'll just copy and paste all of this down to header. Okay. And if you come on over to your Replit, what you need to do is basically create a project, and you're looking for this template, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So for anybody building a web page, that's your basic standard template. Majority of web pages today are built using these three languages, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm going to put in the title being No Code and AI Consultancy Firm, and then I hit create. Okay, so what this has done for me is it's created the basic building blocks of a web page. The first page being a HTML. This is where all our HTML code that ChatGPT gives us is going to go. Then you've got your JavaScript, .js, and that's where any JavaScript that we need will go. And then you've got CSS, which is your sort of design code, and that's where we'll put any ChatGPT CSS that it gives us in here. So I'm just conscious of the time. It's 5.5 minutes, so let's just get the HTML stuff in here and see, can we get something live in the prescribed time frame. And then if we come down here, so I copied from there down as far as here, header, and now it's starting at section. So if I come down here, it's duplicated that part for me. So I'm starting at section, and I am bringing it down to the bottom of the HTML. Okay. And I'm going to come back into Replit. I'm going to go under header and paste the rest of it there. So that's the HTML part done. I'm now going to come into CSS, and I'm going to come down here, and I am going to take all of the CSS code here and copy and paste this over. Okay, and copy that. It's now moving on to the next step, but we don't need that quite just yet. I'm going to overwrite everything that's in here, and I'm going to hit run. So we're at 6.5 minutes. And let me see, do we have a web page up and running? So we have a skeleton web page up. It obviously doesn't look amazing, but for 6.5 minutes of time, particularly when I'm chatting through this as I'm doing it, you've definitely got the bones of something to work with here. It's live on the internet. Anybody can go and visit this right now at this particular web address, and it was all done in less than 7 minutes. So as a few extra bonus minutes in the video, we're gonna maybe just try and touch this up a little bit, and I'll just show you the process that I would continue with to continue building out this page so that it's a fully functioning page that looks really well. So the first thing you'll notice is obviously we couldn't find that photo, so I'm going to try and rectify that in the first instance. So I'll come back to the playground here and just say the photo in the background of the main header block on the landing page is referencing a photo which cannot be found. Can you please provide me with a working link to a relevant photo for a website like this photo? I'll just say, or picture, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a photo, for a website like this, and submit. Let's see what we get here. So it's saying to use this image, replace the background image property in the header section of your CSS code. So I know I'm going into the CSS page, and if I take this header block here, so I need to go into the CSS, and here's the header block. So I'm just going to replace this entirely, paste over that, then I'll hit run, and okay, so straight away that's looking a little bit better. I'm probably not overly enamored with that picture either, but it's definitely looking better than picture not found. And what I'd probably do if I was spending more time on this is I'd go to something like Canva, and I would get Canva to use their AI image generation to come up with something specific to this particular brand and put that in place here. But to keep moving with this page, let's just keep moving. So I spent the next 20 minutes back and forth with ChatGPT, following the exact same process, just prompting it, going back to it, saying where I wanted to fix something. I focused on this header bar. I wasn't overly enamored with how it looked initially. I asked it to put in a placeholder logo and also to push all of the menu items to the side here, and it actually did some extra fancy hover effects like this without me even asking for it, which I thought was quite cool. I then also asked it to improve this services section by adding in a carousel, which allowed 3 images to automatically hover over each other and change. So again, doesn't look spectacular, but you can see how you can build this out. And if I just show you the chat history in here, and so if I just show you some of the snippets from the chat history here, rather than you going through everything, because it's the exact same process back and forth and back and forth. First part was to do with the nav bar, and it's basically me just asking, can you please justify the menu selection items to the right hand side of the nav bar, and can we also ensure there is some spacing above the menu items at the top of the screen. On the left hand side of the menu bar, can you please put in a placeholder logo? So it gave me some pretty good instructions like what we had seen before, and I went back and forth, pasted in exactly as it told me, and I noticed that it didn't quite do the spacing of the words in the menu bar as I wanted it. So I basically just came back and told it that the menu items are still spread out across the entire menu bar, but I would like them to be presented on the right hand side while the logo is presented on the same row. Can you please provide updates? And so after one kind of prompt or correction, it knew what it had done wrong, and it came back and gave me a slightly updated thing, and you see here it worked. The next thing I was looking at, this is where I was talking about the hero section, and it was the first time that it introduced some JavaScript code, and I thought it was going to tell me to put the JavaScript code inside of the script.js file here, but it didn't. It told me to put it in the bottom of the HTML file, so I did exactly as it said, and it got the functionality running. When I first did the carousel, for me it didn't have any actual pictures, it just had placeholder images, and so I just asked for 3 relevant images, and it not only gave me the 3 relevant URLs, but it also gave me the complete HTML snippet that I need to replace in the file, and so I did that, and it was working fine. Also gave me the code block here that I can just simply copy and paste to replace the relevant code snippet in the HTML file. So it looks like it's this div, just double check, div class equals carousel. So I think it's this part here, and I'll just replace that and hit run, and then if I come in here and refresh it, and so that already looks much better, and it is scrolling through the different images there every 3 seconds. So it's obviously chosen some person just to throw in there, and this looks like a very high-tech scientific AI and no-code consultancy firm. So I mean, I'll probably move on for that block. I'm not overly delighted with it, but again, that's the process of it. It's back and forth and just getting it to the way you look, and it's also being able to do something like this where it's actually adding some interactivity or functionality into it. So the last thing that I might try, which might be a little bit bit ambitious is I'm going to try and see, can we hook this contact us form up to an Airtable database. This part might not even be possible to do, but I'm just going to ask ChatGPT to see how we can do that. And here we go. That is great. That's great. Thanks. I am looking at the contact us form next. I would like to integrate this with an Airtable database in the backend, so that when someone submits the contact us form, it creates a new record in a table in my Airtable database. Can you please write the required HTML, CSS, and Java script for me to do this, and please let me know if you require any information from me in order to do this. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I suppose what I'm taking out of this is it seems like it's possible and that it is going to show me how to do this, which is pretty cool. And I suppose the next thing that you'd probably be able to do is, well, if you're able to submit form data into your Airtable database, why would you not be able to also present data from the same database? So, you know, similar to what you can do with the likes of Softer or Webflow, whereby you can have your Airtable as your kind of content management system in the background, like for blog posts, or if you've got jobs listings, or if you've got tools listings, or if you've got resource listings, you can store all of that in your Airtable base and then have that presented on the front end. And if this is going to write the code for us to do that, well, this is a pretty cool way to get a free website up and running with that functionality built into it. So it's nearly finished typing out this response, and let's see where it takes us. To integrate the contact form in Airtable, you'll need to use JavaScript to send a request to the Airtable API when the form is submitted. First, you'll need the following information from your Airtable account. Please note that you should not expose your API key in your front-end code for security reasons. Ideally, you should use a server-side language like Node, Python, or PHP to handle the API request. However, for this example, I'll show you how to do it using JavaScript on the front end. Okay, so at least it's giving us a warning there. You know, you should never expose your API key because it's effectively a password. It will let anybody access your own Airtable data, so make sure you don't expose your key to anybody. And so what we'll do is you need to replace the form element with this particular HTML code. So we'll do that as a starting point. I need to try and find wherever the form element is, and I see it here. So form and down to form, and I'm gonna just replace that and hit run. It looks the exact same, so anyway, it must just need to change that for what it's about to do next. Next, add the following JavaScript code at the end of your HTML file just before closing body tag. So it's giving me more script, and I'm gonna put this exactly where it told me to put it. So if I just scroll down to the end of this script, okay, down to here, it's telling me to do it in the HTML file rather than in this script.js file, so that's exactly what I'll do. And if we hit run, and if we come back here and refresh, it looks the exact same as before, as you would expect. And come back to this here, make sure to replace your Airtable API key, your base ID, and your table name with your actual values. So what I might do here is I'm going to put in my data on the front end just to see, does this work? And then if it does work, what I might do is ask ChatGPT, how can I use, for example, so where it's saying I should use Node.js, Python, or PHP to handle the API request, I might see, can it do that for me? And so therefore it won't expose my data. So I'm going to just pause the screen here as I fill in my details, and I'll just see, does it work? Okay, so I've set up a free dummy account to see, can I get the data that I need in order to get this thing working. So if I come into the account here, and where you're going is into account. So I'm going to come into my account here and see, can I get my API key? So if I come in here, okay, and I'm going to hit use API key instead, and it's now giving me the option to get my API key there. And I'm going to come back into Replit then and put my API key where it needs to go, saying the API key here. So again, what I would recommend is that you don't do this in your project and wait to the next part of the build to do it. But for now, I'm going to do this and see does it work. So to get the base ID, then I know where to pull that from and go back to the base. So the actual base ID is always up here in the URL. It's the one that begins with app, and come to the end of that particular section. And then if I come back into Replit and paste that in here for base ID, and then if I go to find the table name, usually you can use table ID either, but I'll use table name as that's what it is calling for here. And so the table name is form submission, so rename table, make sure I copy it exactly as it is there. And if I come back in here and go and put in table name, and then let me just see, what does it do? Can't name. I wonder how is it going to know there. Here's something to do with fields. Okay, so name, email, message. I'll just make sure that my fields are named exactly as they are here, because I think that will need to happen. So name, email, and then if I put in message and put this maybe as a long text and create field, and I'll just delete all the placeholder data that's in there at the moment. And so all I'll do now is do a test run and see does the form submission work. I'd be really surprised if this does work on first run. Anyway, hit run, come in here. I've landed on this AI and no-code consultancy firm, and I'm just blown away by the design of this website that I just feel I have to submit a contact us form. So I'm gonna put in my message here. Nice website, man, and click send. Let's see what this does. Your message has been sent, we will get back to you soon. So now all we have to do is go into the base and see that my God. So that's worked in one attempt with GPT-4. So I mean, I'm definitely impressed by that. That's pretty. Really didn't expect that to work on first inning. So already we've got a form that's hooked up to our Airtable no-code backend with very little effort there. So far we've built a website completely from scratch using Replit and ChatGPT. And we have troubleshooted some issues, and we have used CSS, HTML and JavaScript without knowing CSS, HTML or JavaScript. We have also integrated our front end with a back end. Now there definitely would be further prompting needed in order to set that up in a secure way, as I mentioned earlier. So just be sure if you are replicating this project exactly, just be very wary of your API key being exposed. You definitely don't want to do that. I set up a dummy Airtable account to use for this tutorial purposes, so there's not really any exposure there, but I just want to double emphasize that so you don't expose any data unwittingly. You know, all of it was done really without any difficulty and without actually having to look at anything other than ChatGPT. You could easily continue on with this build and keep adding all of the different pages, and you can add all sorts of functionality. You can also, as we've shown, hook up an Airtable backend. So far we've only done it whereby you can send data to Airtable, but as you can see, it probably is only 1 or 2 prompts away from being able to also return data to the front end. So as in, if you had a blog page here, you could have 100 different dynamically generated blog pages using Airtable as your content management system. Maybe I'll do a future video on that. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comment section below. But again, I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out yourself by just purely going in back and forth with ChatGPT. And this is what's so unbelievable about the power of ChatGPT, is that it is really enabling and enhancing people's abilities, where you don't necessarily need to fully know the technological underlying data, and you can still create things and rely on ChatGPT and give it feedback and build something amazing. So if you've enjoyed today's video and if you got anything out of it, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel and if you'd click that like button on the video, because it does help me continue to grow and it does definitely motivate me to keep doing what I'm doing here. I'd also love to hear about what you guys are using ChatGPT for, particularly in conjunction with no-code tools, and you might drop some comments in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching and talk to you soon.